Welcome to Talk 30 to Me, the show where we unpack the thrills and challenges of the 30s. I'm your host, Mr. Robert, and today we're diving deep into what it means to hit the big 3-0. It's a milestone that comes with expectations, realities, and let's be honest, a bit of anxiety too. So, whether you've been there, done that, or are just approaching the curve, this episode is for you. Today we're tackling a significant life milestone, the Big 3-0. It's a time filled with reflection, anticipation, and a whole lot of soul searching. To help us dive deep into today's topic, I have three incredible guests joining us virtually, each bringing their own unique experiences and insights into what turning 30 really means in today's world. They've navigated the challenges, celebrated the victories, and have come armed with stories and advice that just might change the way we view the pivotal decade. Joining me today are Jamie, Chris, and Alex. Welcome. Jamie celebrated their 30th last year and has since embarked on a journey of self-discovery and personal growth. They come from a background in digital marketing and are passionate about advocating for mental health. Jamie's story is one of resilience and learning to celebrate the small victories. Welcome, Jamie. It's great to have you. Our next guest is Chris, who turned 30 just 6 months ago. Chris works in environmental conservation and has a deep passion for sustainable living. His 30s have started with a major career advancement and a move to a new city. Chris brings a fresh perspective on balancing societal expectations with personal happiness. Chris, thanks for joining us today. And finally, we have Alex, who's joining us as a certified life coach specializing in career transitions and personal development. Alex entered their 30s a few years ago and has since helped numerous clients navigate their transformative decade. With a background in psychology and a knack for setting achievable goals, Alex is here to share some wisdom on making the most out of our 30s. Alex, welcome to the show. So let's get into it. I remember my own 30th like it was yesterday, and I'm sure many people say that, but I really do remember it because I did not enjoy the day at all. I didn't enjoy the day at all, and not that I had big hopes for the day, but other people wanted me to have bigger hopes for the day. So I feel like a lot went into making the day what it was, which was probably good overall if I just let myself be honest for a second. But I was a little irritated that day because my friends were not responding to me when I was messaging them. For more than half the day I was by myself. Nothing rang, nothing vibrated. It was just a very quiet day. But essentially my friends had decided, and I use the friends lightly because I don't think I speak to any of them anymore. But my friends had decided to, for whatever reason, to throw me a surprise party, which I am not a fan of. But I am the kind of person who accepts the gift as given, as opposed to saying it's not what I wanted. You thought of me and you wanted to get me something, so for that I will be grateful. But so much about this day was not thrown together with any level of care or consideration. And that, coupled with feeling ignored for most of the day because no one was talking to me or responding to me, also left me with a very unique and specific feeling. Excuse me. So the day in and of itself was not great. Turning 30, however, did not mean much to me. So, like, for me, and maybe people growing up in my generation, the ages of concern were 18, 21, and 25. Just because of all the things that were happening in the world, having a young black man who made it to 18, who made it to 21, and then who made it to 25, not coupled with, academic pursuits and all that other stuff, but just being able to be alive still, by 18, 21, and 25. Those were the celebrations. So by the time 30 hit, it was really like you're on your own. Like you got this. You don't need you don't need anything. You got this. So for me, I'm trying to make myself like mentally go back to that time. I don't remember people asking me so much ahead of time. Well, no, I take that back. There were people asking me like, "Are you ready?" As if some Y2K thing was going to happen where, I was going to gain some new vision or insight into something. When in fact, that didn't happen. That didn't happen at all. So I guess all I really had to look forward to in the moment was whatever my friends had planned. Now, granted, my family and some other people who were interested in celebrating with me were not, I'm not going to say allowed, but the invitation didn't make it to them. And since it was being planned for me and I didn't know anything about it, I also couldn't like get the information and give it to them. So it was just kind of dicey. I don't know how I was supposed to feel. I don't honestly know how I felt in the moment. I just know what I had a day ago as far as my access to people and involvement in activity on this particular day. Again, I found this out later because of the surprise element of all of this. But I don't know. I didn't feel good in the moment, and I kind of felt a slight or an affront by my then friends. Then in the conversations both around what I would like to do for my birthday, their plans that they were not sharing with me, and just in general places that we would go to celebrate things, what we would eat, what our likes and dislikes were. I thought I had a better rapport with with these people that I was hanging out with, but apparently I did not, because again, in addition to the day already having a very to yourself and alone kind of feel to it, which when it's my choice is not a problem, but for people to put me in that situation, it is kind of odd to me. But anyway, I was staying in Midtown at the time, in a nice, I don't know if you would call that, I guess you would still call that an apartment. It wasn't really a condo. I was staying in Midtown in an apartment above a Thai food restaurant, which was clutch when you were hosting an event like I was, especially for Shondaland Thursdays, if that dates how old this interaction was. What was that, 2014, I think? So I was at home, and my friends called me and told me that they were at this restaurant that was around the corner from me, that I did not like for a number of reasons, which we had discussed. Anyway, see, I'm getting upset already, which I did not like. But hey, they wanted to do something for me, cool. I shared that, hey, my family and some other friends also wanted to celebrate with me. I told them that something was being done, so I was thinking I could invite them to this. And it wasn't necessarily that I couldn't, but it was kind of a, walk around the corner, this is happening right now type of deal. So I couldn't invite. I think I still did share, but it wasn't enough time to truly like invite people for them to get there, because they would have already had to have been dressed and in their cars and or waiting or whatever. So I kind of let that go. But the I get there, it was what, 5, 6 of us, and then me made 7. The restaurant was around the corner from my house. It was a place that I did not particularly care for. I didn't care for the establishment. I didn't care for the menu. So, So I'm already kind of like on edge as it's beginning, unrelated to what the 30s are supposed to be about, or at least what I was told, but just the circumstances of the event itself. I'm already like, I'm already out of pocket a little bit. I haven't said anything, I haven't done anything, but to know me is to know that, oh, he might be irritated right now. So I go, and I get there, and I'm making the most of it. Any and everything that could go wrong as part of this reservation, if it was even a reservation, did. So, I remember like where we were seated was not set up for us to be seated at. And look, start to finish, this felt like a very last minute plan. Nobody considered me when they made this. They didn't think about what it was that I actually liked to do. They just hobbled some stuff together. Now me, I will do the most. Just because I'm always intending to make some sort of an impression that I honestly don't believe that I make, but I'm always trying, or at least I used to. I don't try so much anymore. But to know me is to know for my birthday, my favorite kind of cake is what? German chocolate cake. So anything other than German chocolate cake, while I will receive, I will be disappointed because there's only one type of cake that is my cake. Now, will I eat other types of cake? Sure. But my cake, if you know me, which was kind of the whole thing of my 30s anyway, is the whole if you know me. If you know me, then you will know these things. They will not be a surprise to you. But anyway, from start to finish, I just did not enjoy myself. So, they had balloons, they had a card, this chocolate on chocolate on chocolate, death by chocolate cake, which again is not a bad cake. It isn't. But it came out. There were lots of smiles across the table of people who thought that they had done something. Like in planning this party for me, that they had done something. Like they had done something. And I did not agree with that. Considering, of this, I don't even know if I should even still call it a friend group, but these niggas I used to hang out with, men and women, niggas is plural. It stands for everybody. But these people that I used to hang out with, I just thought they knew me better. But I was the planner of the group. So anytime we went out and did anything, it was my plan. Usually because I had gotten tickets or access to something that I was sharing with them. But a lot of our activities were like that. With the exception of when we were watching Scandal and all of that, we would go over somebody's house. Well, not everybody, but we would. We for those who could, we would go over their house. I sound so shady. Anyway, we would go over somebody's house for that. But most of the outside activities, after work things, I usually volunteered those because I would get passes or some sort of access that I would extend. But I said all that to say, who knows, quite honestly, but I just had a different expectation of that. Now, again, this still has nothing to do with what people say happens when you turn 30. This is none of those things. This is just the atmosphere itself, the environment in which I was turning 30 in, what it did in the space. Now, if I, let myself step back a little bit as far as like where I was, personally, professionally, academically. And like what I had, expected in this span of time, or what this milestone was truly supposed to mean. I don't know if I ever had a real chance to think about it, because if I make myself go back even further, when I turned 18, when I turned 21, and when I turned 25, the conversation around just turning another year older for me has been the same. It has not changed at all. Even pivoting a little bit and thinking about when I went to high school and they were telling me about all the drugs that were gonna come my way, and when I say not nary a pill, not not nary a pill came this way. When I say the offer of drugs was so light and so non-aggressive, Hey, you want some of this cigarette? No, I'm good. Okay. That was it. Like nobody nobody accosted me in any way, shape, or form. There was nothing by way of any force for me to get involved in the drug game. So when it came to turning older, I I don't know, didn't believe what I had heard because it's a good 20, 30 year difference between myself and the person who's telling me what 30 is going to feel like. So 30 felt like that for you 20 years ago. Oh, okay. Because I don't think that sounds I don't think that sounds modern or accurate, but go off. If that's what you feel, I appreciate that. I feel that for you. So anyway, the celebration itself was not what I had hoped for. And I want to say I left that party with a very noticeable attitude because when I say the event was a tight, I'm gonna say 90 minutes, right? Which like who celebrates their friend's birthday in the middle of the day for 90 minutes? Like the way, and I could easily be misremembering this, although I am not because I kept a journal. So, or at least, I could be remembering this in a far more emotion fueled stance than I intend to have. And for that, I will offer some grace. But the act of turning 30, the party, the celebration, the rite of turning 30 was memorable in all the wrong ways. I got cards, which I've grown appreciative of. My mother told me when I was a little younger, because she would be, I don't know if she was real mad or just playing mad, but she would have a feeling that I didn't keep the cards that she would get me, because my mother not only buys a card, but she writes like a lot in the card. And granted, I had not expressly thrown them away, but were they out on display? No. One, because they were cards to me, not to us. And then two, I ain't never been to nobody's house and a card they got when they were 7 is still on the mantle. I could be wrong, but I don't know any of those people, so that wasn't a thing that I thought was gonna happen. Um, Even in talking to some of my other friends and especially those who either have not yet turned 30 or who are about to now, who at the time were nowhere near it, the conversation about what the 30s mean, what it meant, what you want to have done by the 30s, what you want to save until you are 30. Like there was a lot of conversation like that was happening in the spaces around me, but I can't say honestly that I was thinking about it. I knew I had turned another year older. I am not keen to lie about how old I am, generally because people don't think I am that old anyway. And I don't use that old in that way. They just don't think I am whatever age I say I am. Um, yeah, so like it wasn't a thing for me. I could see it with other people, but I never said, "Ooh, I hope to have this done by the time I'm 30," or when I'm 30 I hope to. I think the only thing that I had ever maybe, and it wasn't like an ongoing thing, maybe like a real good one-off, um, was about when I was gonna finish school, finish these degrees, which you will be happy to know I have not finished. Well, I'm working on the last one, I should say, to give myself some grace. Um, but that plan was predicated on nothing real. It was just me setting a future date and time to say I hope to be finished by something by then. Um, but I guess that would count in the way of like my, I don't know, personal story and reflection. It Because at the time I was working. Um, I was still working for a college at that point. Previously, I was, um, I think that was before that. Um, Previously, I was, oh no, 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 that was after that. That was after that. Yeah. So I was working for a college at the time. I could be misremembering. I can't remember if this came before or after, but it was either before I started to, before my position came with housing and I was living on campus, or it was after that and I had gotten a place after I had moved out of there. I can't remember when that was, but But I had amassed this very large group of friends from this discussion series that I was going to, and I would go after work on Tuesdays. And we had at this point been a part of each other's lives for maybe like a year or so, maybe over a year. So in my mind, I'm just thinking I have a better understanding of these people. They have a better understanding of me. So my thought about the 30s, specifically in that moment, or the earliest remember of my upcoming 30s that I had, was around just sort of the celebration and the door opening of it all. Because I don't think personally, professionally, or academically much about my life changed going in to the 30s, or not like right at 30. Maybe like when I hit 35, definitely. But in those first 5 years of 30, it was me waiting for the shoe to drop, but did no shoe drop. a shoe didn't drop at all. But here, let's switch gears. Jamie, are you still there?
Thanks, Robert. Turning 30 was surreal for me. I had this list of things I thought I'd have done by then: big career, house, maybe even a family. But life had other plans, and honestly, I learned to be okay with that.
That's true. That's a feeling that many can relate to. Now, on the flip side, how did you deal with, the expectations of your reality, like your real world around you? Like, how did you deal with that?
It took some time, but I realized life doesn't follow a strict schedule. Celebrating what I had achieved rather than lamenting what I hadn't was a big step.
All right, thank you, Jamie. We'll be right back.
This is Woodsy. Not just a brand, a movement, a mindset, a mirror, a place where community meets creativity, where healing meets hustle, and where unapologetic Black excellence gets to speak loud, clear, and free. We build workshops that grow the soul. We tell stories that shift the culture. We host spaces that hold all of code switching required. If you ever felt too much, not enough, or stuck in between, Woodsy was built for you. This is radical rest. This is real talk. This is creative power, reimagined. Woodsy. Rooted in truth. Rising in power. Learn more at woodsy.llc and join the journey.
All right, welcome back. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the pressure society often puts on us by the age of 30, and hopefully get some feedback from you, Chris. But as I mentioned earlier, sort of the expectation that I will claim some awareness of, although for me I felt like it hit a whole lot earlier, so just by 30 it needed to have been cemented, was having a career and not a job, because I was working for a youth development organization, and I was doing a workshop series called Fresh Eyes, if I remember correctly, Fresh Eyes. And we were reading the book Who Moved My Cheese, and I have this program that I should consider bringing back, where it's sort of an exaggerated book club, but we're reading through a book together, so you don't have to read it at home. We're reading it together and talking about all the ways the lessons from this particular book or story or essay that we're reading, how it applies to life. In this particular case, they were on an employment track of programming, so how specifically the book Who Moved My Cheese, for young potential employees, how they could use those lessons to better their lives. But anyway, I had a decent job at the time. Looking back on it, like where I am now, was that a career? No, it was definitely a job. It was career focused, but it wasn't a place that I was going to stay. But I remember while I was doing that program, I had a coworker, my boss, I suppose you could say, who I'm certain she's a great person. I'm certain she is. I'm certain she is. But she was very hopped up on the notion of job versus career. Like when I wake up in the morning, I don't wake up in the morning to go to my job. I wake up in the morning to go to my career. To which I said, "Oh, so if somebody calls you while you're on your way to your career, do you say, 'Hold up, let me call you back when I get back to my career?'" Like just it doesn't sound right, and I think it's an assault to the overall intelligence of people to think that when somebody says job that they are referring to job as opposed to colloquially just telling you that they're on their way to their place of employment. Like it's not it's not them demeaning the type of work that they were doing. But anyway, she was very hopped up on that, and I could tell she, like my mother and others from generations above me, they're very focused on the things that have provided them in their own life some level of security. And security is great, but also being able to leave this life, leave this world, have expended all of the skills that I've been given and or have developed, so I'm not leaving here with any talent, is also of great concern, maybe to my generation or me specifically. So I like to believe that I balanced, maybe not well, but balanced societal expectations and my own personal reality with a little intention and planning. I tried to give everybody who needed something from me, and not hopefully as a people pleaser, but just as a child who has a parent who is mandating certain things. I want to give you the things that you are looking for because of your investment into this whole biological warfare. You get the things that you need, but I also get some stuff for myself. So I get a chance to try out all of the passions, ideas, and projects that I have, so I don't feel like I'm, just out here doing stuff for other people. So while it was not aggressively laid on me that I needed to be successful, I was very much aware of the parent conversation, and that, my mom was working with or friends with other parents, and just natural conversation and competition. They're each speaking about what their child or children have done. Maybe not expressly to one up the next person, but definitely to just highlight that things are happening in these streets. So, my child is doing this. What is your son up to? And, just that back and forth. So, my awareness of that made me want my mom to have credible, quality things to be able to share, but also things unlike anybody else. Because I get it. People are, getting married. They are having children. They might even be moving. All of those things are great. To a degree, I did my version of those things. I have always, again, remembering my own childhood, just thought, you need to have something and be something in order to bring a child into this world. I know, I know most of you may not even need that. You might need a Corona and a fifth of something and the light to hit just right, and that's enough for you to start a family. But I was raised a little differently, and I want to make sure that I have, the resources necessary, because I don't personally feel that I have the type of community to sustain a child. Yeah, people might be inclined to help and all that, and that's great, really it is. But I just wanted to have more. So sort of that whole idea around how your environment or your community sees what it is you do stays with me. Like even now, like I have a cousin who every blue moon, not all the time, but every blue moon she'll ask me, like, what do you do? Where are you working now? And, if you just let the words hit, you would just think, oh, it's just cousins having a conversation. They're chatting. No, she really does not know what I do. And the fact that we follow each other on everything, and there are posts about a variety of things, I don't know, for me lays it pretty bare, but maybe not for her. Maybe not for her, but anyway. And she doesn't say it like, negatively or, demeaning or anything like that, but it is a lack of awareness. She does not know and wants to know. But I think about those two interactions a lot. You're out here, you're out here doing the work, and then people don't know what it is that you do. One, which can be very humbling. It's just like, okay, in the grand scheme of things, my work does not chart. Okay, cool. But then also in another area, someone being so caught up in how you present what it is that you do that they minimize it because you talk about it like it's a job when it is in fact a career. And sort of juggling and wrestling with like what that means. Do I care? Is it really that serious? And to some people it is. Again, being born into a world that maybe it's not complete, but definitely does exist before you get here. There's a lot of catching up you have to do, and with each new generation, it's more for them to have to remember within a certain degree. They have to know not only their growing history, but the histories of the generations that came before them, and well enough to conversationally know that it exists if ever asked in a trivia sense. But then also to be able to improve upon whatever it was able to do as it relates to any given, topic or issue, which can very much be a lot of pressure, especially if you feel like you were ill-equipped as a child growing up, whether it's your school system or just your parentage at home. Like all of those things come to a head. I know for me, home life was not the greatest for a period of time, but I had freedom. So even if something just wasn't cool, wasn't to my liking, I would just leave. And then that's kind of been my thing. Like people are out here making gross assumptions that you have to suffer everything that they want to give you. And I lost myself for a period of time somewhere between my 20s and 30s where I believed that. And I was out here trying to be available to any and everybody. But no, no, none of that. And I want to say that for me didn't hit at 30. I would say it hit in my 30s. But the deep guttural like genesis of not caring anymore. Like I had it when I was younger. Then I got with this friend group I was referring to earlier, which they made me feel well. In response to certain questions they would ask about how and why I moved the way that I did, it made me feel different and othered. So where I would normally spend a lot of time by myself, just because my professional day is around people. So personally, you all can get the fuck away from me so that I can catch my breath and breathe. But just them saying those things in particular made me, I don't want to say realize, made me aware of how my doing my own thing makes other people feel. And en masse, because it was a group of people, did not receive me doing my own thing positively. And to avoid having to explain it, I let it go. Excuse me. I let it go, and like I'm slowly getting back to that because it, in that way it helped me, and I let it go, and I was very much in a period of disservice where I really could have used those skills, but I kind of forgot for a second. But I will say the 30s helped to bring them back. Maybe not in turning 30, but definitely into my 30s, my personal reality expanded. Which in part was a return to its form before I changed it, which happened prior to turning 30. But I got it back and so much more that people still don't understand, but I also still don't care because it's not about you. It's about me in my life. Because I would argue, and the I do. I guess I'll apologize. I kind of want to apologize for the framing of these questions because they are definitely framed from a Eurocentric view. Because my entire life has been pressure from society to be something. The pressure to make it to 18 is probably the most cumbersome. So then on the other side of it, having smaller bursts that you have to make it through, definitely soften, the, I don't know, societal blow because you didn't have to, you endured a full-on 18 years, still not seeing what the difference was in, regard to maybe like access and capacity. But you're older now, so you can take on more information. But with that more information comes a very unique position in the world, being a young black man. So those were more the societies that I became aware of. But my grandmother had equipped me with a trick. I don't know if she was giving it to me long term or just conversationally, and I made it long term because it was my grandmother. But that is the reason why I wear a ring and have always had a ring on my ring finger ever since I was a kid. It exudes responsibility and professionalism to an unknowing audience. Just in seeing it, they make up certain qualities about you. So even though it is illegal to ask somebody on a job interview if they're married or if they have a family or any of those things, by having these subtle cues, it gives people that. And I definitely know that a reason that I have gotten jobs or have been able to get into certain places and spaces are because of these cues that people showed me. Now, granted, still, it was before 30, but I can lean into them even more so in my 30s, especially with what society was expecting of me that I didn't necessarily. I gave indirectly, I suppose, because like I said, I had a decent job, I had a car, I had a pet, I was traveling, I had a passport, I had a business. So all of those things were happening in that span of time. But I will say my personal reality expanded a bit. Now, Chris, what's your take on this?
Hey, Robert. It's tough, right? Everyone expects you to have it all figured out by 30 career, marriage, the whole package. But I think those societal norms are shifting, thankfully.
Yes, and I'm thankful for the shift. But on that, like, how did you handle the pressure of all of it? Or was there any pressure for you at all?
For me, it was all about setting my own pace. Sure, I felt the pressure, but I also knew that I had to live life on my terms.
I think that's what it all boiled down to for me is understanding that I could live life on my terms by the time I hit my 30s. I was definitely making other people's expectations of me acceptable by maybe not doing it directly how they were asking for it from me, but the outcome was still the same. So I did still go to school. I did still work. I did still, have things and own things and craft a space for myself in the world. But I did it my way. So the directive given to me got to be the same from society, but I went about achieving it my own way, which no doubt I was going to do anyway. All right. Thank you, Chris. We'll be right back.
At Woodsy, we don't just write books. With the help of our publishing house, Hazelwood Press, we release blueprints. We print power. We publish purpose. From self-help to soul work, essays to exploration, we're celebrating new releases, timeless re-releases, and this October, our very first novel, Bedlam, drops. Stories that shift culture. Books that build legacy. Voices that deserve to be heard. Got a book in you? Want to tell your story your way? Let's make it real. Visit woodsy.llc to learn more about our publishing support, author services, and how to join our growing community of storytellers. Woodsy, rooted in truth, rising in power, writing the next chapter with you.
All right, welcome back. Joining us now is Alex, a life coach who specializes in helping people navigate major life milestones. Alex, what advice do you have for setting realistic goals in our 30s?
Thanks for having me, Robert. The key is to focus on what's truly important to you. It's easy to get caught up in what you should do, but aligning your goals with your personal values, that's what brings true satisfaction.
Oh, yes, that's important. That's insightful. I know maybe not in preparation for my 30s, but definitely while I was in my 30s. Redefining like what was important for me, because a little later into my 30s I was displeased with where I was working. School wasn't, it hadn't yielded what I had hoped it would yield. Not in the degree, but like once you get it and it's time to go out and find even better opportunities, I just wasn't finding anything that actually spoke to me. And I remember I was, this was around 2016. I was working for this restaurant in management, and my boss at the time could be very cantankerous, and sometimes I'm for that, and then other days I'm just coming here to work. All that other shit is unnecessary to me. Like I don't know why we got to keep doing this every day. Like, you didn't get your fix yesterday. Like you're a little too big, too old for this. But anyway, he's a very cantankerous gentleman, and he would just walk into the restaurant cussing and fussing at everybody for things that had absolutely nothing to do with the restaurant at all. And just this particular day, I just wasn't in the mood for that, because I had already been looking, trying to find opportunities elsewhere, but it was never to get rid of this opportunity, because it was kind of cool. I mean, one of the perks is people were feeding me all the time, so my fat ass could remain fat. I was doing okay. But I am very much a student of the, like, I just came to dance. All that other turn and trick shit you need from somebody to be, your whipping post and to suffer your I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do. So I had already been looking, and I had found an opportunity that I thought was pretty sweet, and it was in Washington, D.C. I was actually at the time looking at opportunities in D.C. and Houston, if I remember correctly. Houston or Dallas. I think it was Houston, but they had the floods. And it was literally, it was literally as I was packing up my things, trying to make the decision, because wherever I was going, all this stuff was going too. So that was never not going to be a part of the plan. But anyway, I opted for DC because Houston was flooded, and I had reached out. I had secured a job. I had secured a place to stay temporarily when I got there. But you get past whatever the probationary period is at work, and you can bank on being there for at least a period of time. So I figured I'm gonna give it 90 days, which was my transition plan for getting there. Give the job and the place I'm staying at 90 days to be something, and then if I needed to move, I will have worked for 90 days, so I'd have some gainful income coming in, so I'd go ahead and make that move. When I say everything that could go wrong went wrong when I moved to DC, how about literally upon the wheels of the plane touching the ground in Baltimore, before I boarded the train going from BWI to DC Union Station, I no longer had a job. They gave the position away, even though I had signed. I had accepted the offer. They'd given the position away. And then when I arrived, the place that I was supposed to be staying temporarily did not have space for me. So, and I I'm very much a DIYer and finding the least expensive, most effective way to do a number of things. So I had mailed most of the things that I was bringing with me because it was cheaper than packing it to bring with me, and I also wouldn't have to carry it. So I had to, again, upon arriving with no place to go, I had to go across town to the postal service where I had all of my things shipped in, which was near. It was in the community that I was going to be living in, but since I was not going to be living there anymore, I'm sorry. Since I wasn't going to be living there anymore, no need to be over there, but it's not like I could have rerouted it. So I had to go all the way across town to this post office to get all of my boxes that I don't have a place to take them, mind you. But I did go to the store and get another suitcase. I emptied out all of the boxes that I had shipped, folded everything up, and got it into the suitcase. So I had about two very big suitcases plus what I traveled with in my bag. So I had a lot of stuff going on. Now this is where, some helpful advice on goal setting might have helped me out. Although I think I did really well, considering having to think on the fly. Yes, I could have turned around and come home, but and it's not even like shame, but I did so much to tell people I was leaving. It seemed rude within less than 24 hours to come back like, hey, y'all, I'm back. So I said I was going to try to make this work. And I will say I grew the most as a result of that experience, which did happen in my 30s. But nothing prior to my 30s could have, well, maybe it did. I'm sorry. I'm having more thought about my original thought as I'm speaking, but what I experienced when I first moved to DC was not what I had planned on, but I definitely was not down and out. I met some really amazing people. I really got to become acclimated with the rage that lives in DC because they were in the throes of gentrification at that time. Which shouldn't have been like a big to do, but it kind of was. The natives were extremely displeased, and then here I come. I mean, I'm a transplant. I am coming into your home, not taking anything, but of what's available. I'm creeping into what's available. But my running joke about DC, which I don't know if you've heard or not, but specifically for Black people, one of the reasons why I did not enjoy living in DC, even despite solving a number of issues and relying on my resilience and my survival skill set. Because I had a running joke, because the majority of all the Black people that lived actually in DC proper lived in Southeast DC. And Southeast DC is across a bridge. So I would always say that one day they're going to blow up that bridge and put sharks in the water to keep all the niggas over there in Southeast DC. Now, to me, Southeast DC is very much out of the way. And the fact that that's where the Black people had been relegated, it was definitely, the hood over there. But not in a bad way, because there were still many areas of DC, Northeast, Northwest, and Southwest, that were not ravaged so hard. But with how populous, and I had a few friends over in Southeast, so I went a fair number of times, I suppose. But to just see how many people were displaced from where they were originally living and were now in Southeast DC, which was, to me, a commute. I have done that commute on bike. I have been in a cab. I have taken a train. And in each way, it was a commute. So I could have definitely used some tips and tricks, but I still feel that I did very well, because when I was not afraid. So I really do think a lack of fear was a lot of so not a lack of consequence, but a lack of fear. I just wasn't afraid about a number of things. I mentally confronted the idea of not having, or being lost, or being without, and I had a response for that. I won't get into it now. I'll save it for later. But like the time that I lived in D.C. was the only time in my entire life that I truly experienced homelessness. I was on the streets of D.C. for I want to say a period of 8 months. Like trying to figure things out. Now, mind you, this is while working. I made enough to have a place to stay, but it was literally just that. I had no extra. So the final dollar amount had me with a place to stay. I could get back and forth to work, but like that was it. I had no extra. So choosing homelessness gave me some freedom. Now, I wasn't experiencing homeless like most were. But I was still experiencing it. So I remember, and I said I wasn't going to get into it. I'll save it for later. But I had gotten myself a kit and a routine, and I'll maybe in a later episode if it comes up. But I think my goal setting and planning was understanding why I was making this choice, because I had tried to get a second job. That was everything about DC was a goddamn fiasco. Everything about it. Everything about it was like, when I think about it now, it's like, why did you make yourself go through any of these things? You did not have to do that. But I did. And I can't tell you why. I like to say, and I'm growing more fond with being comfortable with saying, that I went through it as sort of like a skills exercise. I needed to prove to myself that I could do it. And maybe the fact that it happened in my 30s is just, I don't know, confetti on the cake. But I was presented with the challenge that not only did I not see coming, not only did I have proof that went against I should even be going through this situation, because I had emails and text messages and phone calls where I was speaking to people, and voicemails where I was speaking to people who were assuring me of the quality of the life that I was about to have. And then when I made it to the place, that was not the quality of life that was in front of me. But I still made the best of it. Like I still made the best of it. Alex, back to what you were saying, like what's a good starting point for this alignment when you're talking about aligning your goals with your personal values? Like what's a good starting point for this alignment?
Start by assessing where you are right now, what you value most, and where you see yourself in the next 5 years. It's about small, manageable steps, not overnight success.
I can agree with that, because in my example, I was literally standing on the street, Massachusetts Ave. I can't remember what that side street was, but I was standing on the street with my suitcases, literally trying to find somewhere to go, at least for that day, because at that point, I had already had an early week with packing, an early day with getting up and get to the airport so I could get in, taking the train, getting from Union Station to the place where I was, so the housing office where I was supposed to, meet with the woman about my apartment, to be turned away, and then, to look how I was looking at the time. I wasn't looking disheveled or homeless, but I did have all of these bags. I didn't have a plan. But I came up with one. Like I literally, it was almost like a That's So Raven moment. I was standing in my circumstance, my situation, looking around, trying to figure out, well, what can I do first? Because I'm going to say for a week, I'm not going to get into specifics, but for a week, things were dicey. But nothing ever happened to me. Nothing ever happened to my stuff. In all things, I was safe, protected, and cared for. But that was definitely a realignment of sorts to reassure myself that I knew what I was doing, that I did in fact have a plan, even if it didn't look like it, or at at the very least I could pull a plan off, even if it didn't look like it, and still come out of this experience with some sort of a skill set, because I was, a solo traveler, so I was used to going places by myself. I had a very unique way of preparing. So I don't know that everybody has that, but I love to tell people just in conversation, like when I go places, I don't get lost. I can always figure something out once you get the rhythm of a place. So, New York is a perfect example because of their grid system for their streets. But once you figure out what the rhythm is, and even if that's not your rhythm, because I know, street names and signs and all of that, it's okay. But then when you hit an area where there is no street sign, you still have to be able to know like where things are. And how not to be lost and how to find your way. So I'm a big, proponent of landmarks, and not landmarks you're told about, but landmarks that you create. You know that this is a landmark for you because every time you turn your head, you see this building. That's how you know you are north facing south. When you're over here, this is how you know you're south facing north, and things like that. Whether it's, relatives who live on certain sides of town, or, cities having different colored materials for their street signs, or this firehouse being this color on this corner, or whatever the case may be, whatever presents as a landmark for you, being able to have those. So I was able to identify some of those and chart out a path. And I was in DC for 2 years before I came back home. 2 years. So for 8 months of it to be a very, very weird ass experience. Is not as bad as it sounds, again, in context. But while I was going through it, not knowing that tomorrow would not be, a repeat of today, was challenging. But at no point did I ever give up hope. And even when I was at my absolute worst, in the midst of the homelessness, in the housing that I had there, it was still freeing for me to know that I am living out. And granted, I made it more comfortable until it was comforting. And I think that's probably my best way of looking at it, is I made it comfortable until it was comforting. Because I even took pictures of myself when I was sleeping in my arrangements. And I even remember, and I'm going to stop talking about it. I even remember, I want to say, if it wasn't Christmas, it was some sort of a holiday and I was not home. And my mom and aunts and all of them, they called me while I was gone. And this particular call, it was a video call, which I did not catch right away. So I had to, I didn't have to pretend, but I chose to pretend things were better than they were in this moment, which I don't feel badly about, because that isn't, I'm not a woe is me type person. I could be going through a lot of things and you not know anything about it. And it's not to keep something from you, but it's not your problem. So I'm not going to burden you with this problem because it's not yours. But I think about that, like all of and it wasn't necessarily a whole lot of big moments. I don't remember the holidays that vividly. I remember the weather, but not specifically the holidays. I couldn't even tell you my birthday for those 2 years because I do not remember it, like, at all. But I do remember, like, all of the people that I met, the lessons that I learned. I was working in DC public schools at the time, so that was an experience. I did in school and out of school programming, so those were two different beasts. Going to get my security clearance, like, there are things that I remember about the experience, but not holidays or anything like that. But I also don't remember being as stressed. I mean, granted, every day kind of had a rhythm to it. And as long as you follow the rhythm, then, like, you're good. But yeah, so that was that. The more I talk about it, I guess, the more, because I'm getting off my notes a little bit because the stories are giving me such vivid memories, I suppose. But it's a really good point about having small, manageable steps and not, looking for overnight success, because the plan that I put together, which really salvaged that DC experience, not to say that it would not have worked for other people, but definitely my social cues and spaces helped me pull that off in a way that it might not have worked so much for others. But thank you so much for your insight, Alex, and we'll be right back.
Ever wanted to build new skills on your time, your terms, your vibe? Say less. Woodsy workshops are finally here. From creative storytelling to real-life skill building, Woodsy is your new home for bold, unapologetic learning. Our flagship series, Kiss My Ass, Unsolicited Advice for the Soul and the Systems, is now live. This ain't your average course. We're talking truth-telling, self-reflection, and designed to shake the table and set it. And soon, our Woodsy Journalism Project drops made for truth seekers, culture shifters, and everyday storytellers ready to use their voice with purpose. Whether you're leveling up, healing forward, or just curious to try something new, Woodsy has a workshop for you. Visit www.woodsy LLC to explore, enroll, and evolve. Woodsy, where soul meets skill.
All right, and we're back. Thank you, everybody, for such a good conversation. I know I did a lot of talking, but your cues took my mind back to a time not too long ago. But thank you to Jamie, Chris, and Alex for your incredible insights. What I am hoping to do with this limited series, especially with these segments broken up between the episodes, is really have sort of a what is it called? Oh, what is it called? I can't remember the name of it. You bury it and you pull it up after a period of time to look at it, and it is called a... Yep. So you can have that. Create one of those things that you save memories and stuff and put it in the ground. And pull it up after a period of time and be able to look back and reflect on it. That's what I'd love to be able to do for this particular decade. Just given all of the conversation that I have had. I know a number of young people who are turning 30, and lots of their conversation is focused on what will happen by it, what they hope to do, in that particular decade. And I just know from my experience it doesn't necessarily work that way, but there's still something to be learned from the experience. So thank you to my guests for participating in this conversation, for the topic at hand, for presenting itself so that we can have these heartfelt and honest conversations. And just a view ahead for next week. Next week we're talking career pivots, when 30 means change. I'd love to tell you some of the stories about my employment opportunities in my 30s and how maybe it was because I was turning 30 or in my 30s that these things happen. But I can't wait to share this topic with you next week. And then also for the guests that we'll have on the show next week, which I may reveal online as we get closer to the actual day. So you don't want to miss out. Don't forget, the show comes out on Sundays. You don't necessarily have to listen to it on Sunday, but it does come out on Sunday. I'm aiming between 2 and 3 o'clock. So if you're around, if you're out of church or awake from that wonderful Sunday nap, I'd love for you to take a listen and participate in the conversation. I think I'm also going to make a community for the show over on the website. So if you get a chance, head on over to woodsy.llc, and I think I'm going to put it in my course area so we can have a full-on community where you're able to submit things and get feedback from me. So look out for more information on that as it comes. Thank you again for listening to the inaugural episode of this 7 podcast series. I'm Mr. Robert, and let's keep talking 30.